and what call the procedure. Okay, so let me connect to the database. Done, it's connected. So if you go to our schema, Gensoft SQL, if you see the procedures, yeah, we have created two procedures. One is one procedure name is say hello. So if I double click on this, it has opened that particular procedure. So this is a syntax for creating the procedure. Create procedure, procedure name as begin, the business logic and end. Okay, and one more procedure is PROC2. In this, we have declared a variable of type integer. So we understood that in in HANA database, to declare the variables, we use the keyword what? Declare keyword. So I initialize the value, then I'm trying to get the value of that variable into the alias myWhere from dummy. Okay, done. Now let us create one more procedure. I'll just close these things. I'll open the SQL console. Yeah. So I'll create a procedure. So before that, I'll set the schema. Right. So this is my schema. Done. Right. Let us create the procedure. Create procedure. Create procedure. I'll give the procedure name as something. Let me give it as procedure 3. Okay, procedure 3. And I'll say as. So if you want to open this parenthesis also, we can open the parenthesis. Not required. Okay, so since I don't want to define any I don't want to pass any parameters, I'm not opening the brackets. As begin, I'll declare one variable, declare something v underscore res int. So I declare a variable of type integer, then I'll say v underscore res equal to. So generally in this scripting, we can say directly like this, but generally we'll say colon equal to. Even if you don't use that colon also, it works fine. Okay, and I'll directly perform some sum here, 10 plus 45. Done. Then I want to print that value. So I'll just select. Again here also, directly I can say v underscore res, but generally in this HANA scripting, we prefix the variable with what? Colon. Okay. There is no advantage disadvantage. I can directly use it. Select v underscore res as. I'll just give some alias name. Let me give it as something result. Result from dummy. Okay, so in Oracle database we use DL. We use DL in case of Oracle database. Here we use what? Dummy. So dummy is a dynamic table which would be available. And so this is a procedure we created. Let me execute this. Done. Procedure is successfully executed. Let us call it. So how do we call it? You will say call. Procedure name is what? PROC3. That's all. Just I'm calling the procedure. So when I say F8, yeah, I got the result as what? 55. The result alias is what? Result. Okay. So just I'm declaring the variable. I'm directly performing the calculation here. Now my next requirement is here in this procedure, I am hard coding the values directly in the procedure, but I want to pass them as parameters to what? Procedure. So let us see how to pass parameters to procedure. Done. So here, what is the change I want to do? I want to pass the parameters. So I'll say, let me copy this as it is. Okay, call create procedure. Let me give the procedure name as PROC4. So my requirement is I want to pass two parameters, two integer parameters. So if you take our ABAP environment, in case of subroutines, if you want to pass any normal data types as parameters, we use what? Using keyword. Okay, if you take our function module, in function builder, we specify them under import section. Okay, in case of this HANA scripting, we have something called as in parameter. We have three types of parameters: in parameter, out parameter, and in out parameter. In parameter, as the name it suggests, it will act as an input parameter. It is used for passing the parameters to procedure. Out parameter is nothing but the return parameters. If you want to return any values from your procedure, we can go for what? Out parameter. Then we have in out parameter, which you can compare similar to changing. In our ABAP subroutines or function models, we have changing parameter, which will act as both import and what? Export. Similarly, in-out parameter means that parameter, that variable can be used both for passing the value as well as for receiving the return value. Okay, so now I want to pass two parameters. So create procedure 4. Now I'll open the parenthesis here. I can directly open here also. So I'll put it in the new line. Okay. What type of parameter? In. I'll give the parameter name as something X. Okay. In X int, comma, input parameter Y int. Okay. So what is the signature of the procedure? It has got two input parameters. The parameter names are X and Y. The data type is what? Integer. Then in our business logic, I'll declare one variable res. Okay, I'll declare one variable res. Then here I'll say v underscore res. Okay, colon is equal to what? Here also you can suffix without colon. I'll say colon x plus colon y. Okay, then select v underscore res a result from what? Dummy. That's all. Okay, so let me execute the procedure. F8. Procedure got successfully executed. Procedure successfully got executed. Done. Now let us call it. I'll say call. What is the procedure name here? PROC4. What is the signature of the procedure? It has got two input parameters of type what? Integer. I'm trying to call the procedure, but I'm not passing the values. I'm not passing the values. So these parameters are always mandatory. Okay, so I'm trying to call the procedure without passing the values for the input parameters. So when I try to execute, yeah, I got an error here. You can see wrong number or types of parameters in the call. X is not bound. Okay, so it is giving me error. So what is the understanding? These two parameters by default always they are what? Mandatory. Now I'll say call procedure 4. Okay, call procedure 4. I'll simply directly say 10. Okay, so out of two input parameters, I'm supplying only single value. Again, when I try to execute this, when I say F8, yeah, I got the error. See, wrong number or types of parameters in the call. Y is not bound. Y is not bound. Okay, so both the parameters are what? Mandatory. Now let me say, I'll say 10 comma 20. Okay, so I'm supplying values for what? Both the parameters. So when I execute now, yes, I got what? Successfully executed. I got the result as what? 30. Okay, I got the result as 30. Okay, done. So this is one scenario. Or else I can say call. Okay, so now what is the understanding here? Since I'm passing two values, this 10 will go and sit in what? X, and 20 will go and sit in what? Y. So while calling, I need not maintain the sequence. Just like in ABAP also, while calling the function model, we need to specify the parameter name. So here I'll say call procedure 4. I'll say what are the two parameters? X comma y. Now I'll say y. First I'm supplying the value for what? Y. Y equal to greater than symbol. Okay, implies. Okay, y implies, I'll give just some value 25, then I'll say x implies something 56. Okay, so while calling, I can change the sequence by naming the parameters. Okay, by naming the parameters. If you don't name the parameters, it will consider the same sequence. So when I execute now, when I say F8, yes, I got the result 81. So this is a way to supply values for the input parameters. Done. Any questions in this part so far? Let me complete one more example, then you can come up with the questions. Okay, so what I'll do is, let me create another procedure. So just like if you take our ABAP environment, we can return the values from what subroutine, we can return the values from what even function models also. So in our ABAP environment, we can return n number of values from a subroutine or n number of values from a function model. If you take other programming language like C, C++, Java, we can return only one value. But here in case of procedures, in HANA scripting also in procedures, we can return n number of values. So my next requirement is I want to pass the parameters as well as return the value. So I'll say, let me copy this. Create procedure 5, I'll say. Okay, int x, int y, int. One more thing. Let me cover this first. Yeah, I'm giving the parameter name x int y int. Okay, done. I'm performing the result, done. So what I'm trying to say is here, while declaring this parameter, I'm not specifying whether it is input parameter or output parameter or in-out parameter. Okay, so if you don't specify the category of the parameter, it will always take it as what input parameter. Let me try. What 34, 21. So when I execute this, yes, I got the result as what 55. I got the result 55. So what is the understanding? By default, the parameter category is what? Input parameter. If you don't specify in or in out, it will take it as what? Input parameter. Done. Now, next change is I want to return the value from your procedure. So let me copy this. Create procedure 6. So as a practice, better we specify the category. I'll take in x int y int comma. Now I'll say out r1 int. Okay, out r1 int, and then I'll say out r2 int. So what I'm trying to specify here, I'm trying to return what n number of what values. I'm trying to return n number of parameters. Done. So now I'll say here, yeah. Here I need not declare any variables because already I specified the output parameters. So I'll say r1 colon is equal to what colon x plus. I need not give spaces, but since we are from a web background, I'm just trying to give the spaces here. Okay, not compulsory. R2 colon is equal to, I'll say colon x minus colon y. So what you have to understand is we have two return values, R1 and what R2. We can return n number of what values. Okay, done. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's see whether we can execute this. I'll select this. I'll say F8. Then process successfully executed. Okay, now let us call it. So I'll say call. What is the procedure name here? Procedure 6. Call procedure 6. I'll say something 23 comma 56. So out of 4 parameters, I'm supplying values for what? Only one parameter. Okay, sorry, two parameters. So when I try to execute this, when I say F8, good, I got the error. What is the error I got? Wrong number or types of parameters in call. R1 is not bound. So what you have to focus here is, if you take our ABAP environment, in case of your function modules, we have export parameters. We have export parameters. Okay, export parameters are always what? Optional. In our ABAP environment, export parameters are always optional. If we are interested, we can import it, otherwise we can ignore it. In some places we may import it, in some places we may ignore it. Okay, so export parameters are always optional. But whereas in this HANA scripting, output parameters are always what? Mandatory. It is compulsory that we need to receive it. So that's why I'm getting the error here. Done. Let me copy it first. Done. So now let us see how to call this. I'll say call procedure 6. Okay, let me say something. Yeah, 56 comma 21. Okay, 56 comma 21, question mark and question mark. Okay, question mark and question mark. Let's see what happens. Okay, so overall we are having what? Four placeholders, four parameters. Let me try to execute this. When I say F8, done, I got the result. So output parameter 1 is what? 77. Output parameter is 2 is what? 35. So this is the way to receive your output parameters. Okay, so if you see the result also, I got something. Out of 1 is 77, out of 1 is 2 is what? 35. I can also name the parameters. I'll say call procedure, 6. Okay, then I'll say something 48 comma 23. Sorry, let me try to name the parameter. So when I'm naming the parameter, I can pass it in any sequence. So first I want to pass the value for y. So I'll say y implies something 89 comma x implies something 43. Okay, y implies 89, x implies 43, and then I'll say what? R1 implies this question mark comma R2 implies what? This question mark. Done. Okay, so y implies 89, x implies 43, r implies so and so, r2 implies so and so. Done, 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 done. Yeah, so let me try to execute this. I'll say F8. And I say F8, done. So I got 132 and what? Something what? Minus 46, it seems. 132 and minus 46.
here.
In debug perspective, as of now we are in what development perspective. Okay, in order to debug your procedure, okay, or in order to debug anything, we need to open what debug perspective. So how do we open the debug perspective? You can see the right hand corner on the application toolbar here. We have a button icon debug. I can open that in what I need to open that in what debug perspective. Otherwise, how do we or what shift the perspectives? We'll choose the menu what window, perspective, open, perspective. From here I can choose what debug, or you can go to other and you can select from here also. Anything is fine. Okay, I repeat once again. Let me close this. Okay, so in order to debug the any procedure, we need to open that procedure in what runtime mode. Okay, after opening that in runtime mode, we need to set the breakpoints. So how do we do that? From the left hand side pane, double click on your procedure. I double click on procedure 6. Once it has opened, this is called as runtime mode. From wherever you want to start the debugging, we need to set the breakpoint. So left hand side, I double clicked on these three lines. Three breakpoints are what? Set. Three breakpoints are set. Once the breakpoints are set, we need to open the debug perspective. Okay, I can click on this icon, or as usual, I can choose the menu window, perspective, open perspective. Okay, I can click on this debug, or if it is not available here, I'll choose other, open it more debug perspective. Okay, so I'll choose the debug perspective, say okay, done. It has opened the debugging perspective. Okay, once it has opened the debugging perspective, now what we need to do is we need to set the configurations. We need to set the configuration. So what you have to do is here. How do we open that configurations? Just observe. Yeah, how do we open that configuration means? You can see here, somewhere here on this application toolbar, we have what debug icon here. If I click on this drop down arrow, okay, on application toolbar, okay, if you click on this, yeah, here we have different configurations here. We are not concerned with this. Okay, I want to create a new configuration. So what you have to do, once you are opened in the debug perspective, click on this debug drop down. When I click on this, here we have an item debug configurations. Click on what debug configurations. When I click on this debug configurations, yeah, it will open this particular window. What it is saying, create, manage, and run the configuration. So what you want to debug, whether you want to debug a JavaScript program, Java program, whatever it is. Okay, I am interested to debug what HANA stored procedure. Okay, so I'll choose what, in the left hand side pane I'll choose SAP HANA stored procedure. Choose this SAP HANA stored procedure. Okay, and here there is a button icon. Here you can see I'm moving the mouse pointer. There is a button, what, new launch configuration. Choose your HANA stored procedure. Click on what, new launch configuration. So when I click on this, done. So here you can give your configuration name. Okay, you can give the configuration name. I'll give the configuration name as something, any name you can give. I'll give the configuration name as config1. It is giving an error. SAP HANA Studio, this is already existing. Okay, so I'll just say something, something 7am config1. So what is the name of the configuration I'm giving? 7am config1. What is this configuration meaning? This configuration, this configuration or every configuration will be associated with the procedure, and if the procedure contains any parameters, it will associate with that particular parameter values, just like a variant. In our ABAP environment, when you run the selection screen, I can give the input values. When I click on the save button, a variant gets created. So if you want to get back that input values at any point of time, I can retrieve it from our variant. Similarly, a configuration will be associated with what, your stored procedure along with the input parameter values. Okay, so just provide the name here. I gave the name as 7am config1. Then there are two radio buttons here. One of the radio buttons is what, procedure to debug. What procedure you want to debug. Okay, where is your procedure is available? In our schema called as what, gensoft what, SQL. So what I'll do, from the drop down I'll choose what, catalog schemas. Done. Okay, here I need to provide the procedure name. For that we need to browse. So I'll click on the browse button. I'll click on the browse button. Done. So select a procedure to debug. So let me expand this in this database. Yeah, in our schema, if you expand, if you go to the database object procedures, under procedures, which procedure you want to debug? Procedure 6. Okay, I'll choose procedure 6. Say okay. Done. So it has given me the procedure 6. This procedure is associated with what, some input values. Okay, how do you set the values for that? You can observe here. Okay, here we have what, input parameters. Initially we are in the general tab. Now let me move to what, input parameters tab. I'll click on this. Yeah, you can see it is showing me only the input parameters, x and what, y. Here only we need to set the values. Okay, the way we debug in ABAP and the way we debug here is different, so you should not compare with that. Okay, right? So there we have selection screen concept. Here we don't have that. So this is the way you have to maintain the values. At any point of time you can open your configuration and change the input parameter values for testing different test cases. Okay, I'll give the value something 77 and I'll give this value as something 32. Okay, so these are my input parameter values. Done. So general tab and input parameters, advanced not required at this stage. Just provide the values. Click on what, apply button. Click on apply button. When I click on this, done. Okay, it is applied. Then click on the button debug. So what is our configuration name? 7am config1. Say debug. Done. Okay, SQL console. Do you want to save the changes? I'll say no, no problem. Done. Yeah, so you can see here, you can see this, it has entered into the debugging mode. It has entered to the debugging mode. You can see I am getting a arrow pointer left hand side. I'm able to see in my screen. If you observe it carefully, left hand side, wherever my mouse is moving, you have the arrow pointer, so which indicates that it has stopped at the first breakpoint. It has stopped at the first breakpoint, and you can see here in the variable section, we have R1, R2, which are our output parameters, and X and Y are what? Input parameters. Done. In our ABAP environment, we have this navigation keys, F5, F6, F7, F8. Here we don't have all those things. We have only F8. We have only F8. When I press F8, it will jump to the next breakpoint. So where is the arrow pointer here? It is about to execute this. So let me press F8. Okay. When I press F8, done. You can see now X is how much? Sorry, X is 77, Y is 32, R1 is what? 109. Okay, and one more thing you have to understand is in our ABAP debugging, we have the provision to change this variable values in the debugging mode. Okay, but here it is not editable. I cannot change. I cannot
points.
Okay. Let me show you that. I don't think it is possible. Let me show you that. Okay.
And
I'll just yeah.
also, suppose if we have the 100 variables, can we add all the variables is going to list in the top of the menu, or can we add the
Yes.
dynamic?
No. All the variables will be added by default.
Okay. If you don't mind, please repeat the steps, please.
Yeah. I'll repeat once again. Yeah. So this is very important for a ABAP developer. So just try to focus. So my requirement is I want to understand the flow of my procedure execution. So first of all, what you have to do, we have to open our procedure in the runtime mode. Okay. Please mute your speaker, sir. Yeah. So we need to open the procedure in what? Runtime mode. How do we open? From the left-hand side pane? From the left-hand side pane under the schema, let me navigate to my procedure. I'll double click on the, it's refreshing. One second. It's refreshing. Just hold on. Yeah, Ramkrishna, any questions?
No,
Hello?
sir, I'm having some network problems.
Acha,
No, sir. I'm having some network. It's unmuted and.
Okay. Fine. No issues. Done. So, right. So, what you have to do, whichever procedure you want to debug, just double click on the procedure. It will open that procedure in the runtime mode. Okay. Let me double click. This is your SQL console. Let me double click on the procedure 6. Yes, it has opened that procedure here. Procedure 6. This is called a runtime mode. Now, what you have to do, we need to set the what? Breakpoints. Okay, how do we set the breakpoints? From wherever you want to start the debugging. Okay, just double click on the left hand side. Okay, I'll double click on this, breakpoint is set. I'll double click on this, breakpoint is set. I'll double click on this, breakpoint is set. Done. Okay, so 3 breakpoints are set. Now what you have to do, after setting the breakpoints, we need to open the debug perspective. How do we open the debug perspective? I can click on this button icon, or I'll choose window, perspective, open perspective, debug. So it has opened the debug perspective. Okay. Once it has opened the debug perspective, we need to what? Associate the configuration. How do we associate the configuration? You can see on the application toolbar under this debug icon. Okay, I'll just click on the drop down. Right, these are the available configurations. At any point of time, I can open this configuration and I can manipulate the input parameter values. So for a fresh configuration, so I'll just click on the drop down. I'll click on what? Debug. On the apply button. Done. It is applied. Then click on the debug button. Click on the debug button. Done. Okay. Yeah, since it is shifting, I'll just say no. Done. Yeah, you can see here. This is, it has entered into the debugging mode. Arrow pointer is available here and it is listing out all your variables. It is listing out all your variables. Okay. Done. Okay, and if you go to this breakpoints tab, it is going to show me these are the different things. So in process 6, where I set the breakpoints, in 5, 6, 7, in the 5th line, 6th line, and what 7th line I've set the breakpoint. So if I deselect this, the breakpoint will be what? Removed. Okay, done. Let me go back to the variables tab here. Done. Okay, so here it is available here. It is stopping at the first breakpoint. Now to execute that particular statement, you can see here on the application toolbar, we have a button, resume button, F8. There in our ABAP environment, we have F5, F6, F7, F8. Here we don't have that concept. Just we have only one navigation key, that is F8. Okay, so when I press F8, it executes the current statement. So let me say F8. Then it is executed and the value is populated in what? R1, which is how much? 75. Okay, I'll say F8. Value is populated in R2. Okay, then it is about to execute the final statement, right? I'll say F8. Done. The procedure got what? Terminated. Now you can shift back to your development perspective. Okay, now as Pulara has one question, let me try that. What I'll do is I'll remove the breakpoint here. Okay, once again, let me close this. So once again, I'll double click on procedure 6. It has opened. So initially, I don't have any breakpoint. So let me give the breakpoint only in R1. I'm giving the breakpoint only in the R1. Okay, and that's all. Only in the R1. Okay, done. Now what you have to do? Click on what? Debug. Shift to what? Debug perspective. It has shifted debug perspective. Then you need to what? Create your configuration or open your configuration. So once again, I can open this also and you can manipulate the values, or else click on debug configurations. Right, I'll choose this HANA store procedure. I want to go for new configuration. I'll give the configuration name as something 7 a.m. config 3. Okay, choose your schema. Procedure 6. Done. It has got some 2 input parameters. Let me associate the values. Done. Apply and say debug. Once this button is disabled, click on debug. Done. Okay, right. So this is your what? It has entered into the debugging mode and it has stopped at the first breakpoint. It has stopped the first breakpoint. Okay. Now what I'll do is already it is stopping in the first breakpoint. Now I'm in the debugging mode. I'll try to click on the left hand side here. Yeah, I'm able to set pull arrow. Yes, just like on ABAP, here also I'm able to what? Set it. Right. So now I'm about to execute this current statement. So I'll say F8. So when I say F8, R1, R2 doesn't have any values now. When I say F8, then you can see here R2 got executed internally because there is no breakpoint. When I say F8, it is executing the current statement and jumping to the next available breakpoint. I might have set that breakpoint statically in the script or I might have set it in the debugging mode. Done. It is stopping there. That's all. It has terminated the execution of what? Our procedure. Done. Is it clear to everyone? Anyhow, almost in most of the sessions, I'll be using the debugging every day. We'll get used to that.
Sridhar, that configuration naming, can we able to change the procedure name? Or maybe
okay, yeah, correct. Fine, let's see that also. I'll double click on procedure 6. Done. Okay, let me set the breakpoint in what? Some fifth line. Done. Let me shift to what? Debug perspective. Done. It is enter debugging. Now let me open what the last configuration, what 7m config 3. I'll open that. Done. Okay. No. Okay, it is not allowing me. It is not allowing me. What you can do is, I think here you can do. Suppose here, let me choose this. I'll click on what debug configurations. Yeah, here I'll choose this 7m config 3. Here, okay, I can change this. Yes, it's allowing. I'll choose this config 3. I'll click on browse. Let me change the procedure to procedure 5. Say okay. Is it changing? Yes, you can see procedure 5. Okay, if you go to the input parameters, it also has got two input parameters. As I'm able to change. Okay, just like a variant, so I'm able to change the procedure, all those things.
Yeah, and what about the temp table listing? Maybe variable have only one line is fine, but when you have the temp table, if you want to see the complete data on that, how it is works.
Yeah, I'll come to that point. What you have to do in that case, temp table, you are saying the records you are saying?
Yes, that's what
Okay. Yeah, in that case, what you have to do is you need to right click on in that variable section. You need to right click on that variable. When you right click, if assume it is the internal table, okay, you need to right click on that and say open data preview. Open data preview.
Okay, that's great.
Anyhow, going forward, we'll be hitting the database. We'll be getting the data from the database tables. We will populate that in the internal tables, and then in the runtime, we'll check what is the data populated in that particular internal tables or table types or work areas, whatever it is.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions, others?
Is it, Sridhar, is it only F8 is a keyword or any other keywords also there?
No, only F8
Any other
navigation.
keywords?
Only F8. Only F8.
F8? Okay.
Yeah, only F8. Let me take the questions from the chat box. Okay, no questions here. Done. Okay, now quickly, let me just show you one what program to hit the database. Okay, I'll just close this. 1 second. Let me go to table section. In the table section, I'm having products. Okay, done. I'll right click on the products table. I'll say open content. Yes, I'm having the data. Okay, done. So product ID, product name, and stock. So I want to populate the data from this particular products table. Okay, so already the table is available. Products is a table, and I'm having some records in that. Okay, So my requirement is what? I want to get the data from that particular table. Okay, so let me quickly create a procedure.
Sridhar, can you import that Mara table and show us?
Yeah. Going forward, okay,
Okay.
right? Because I need to do some other settings for that. Okay, so that's the reason. In the coming class, anyhow, we'll be eating that ECC tables, all those things. Okay, so right click on. Sorry, I cannot create the procedure here. So directly here only, I'll say create procedure. Let me give the procedure name as something procedure 7. Create procedure 7. I don't want any parameters for the timing. As begin. I'll say select what are the fields in that product ID. Okay, product ID, comma, what is that product name? Let me give it in product name and what else? Stock, product name, stock from what table? Products table. From products table. Done. And I'll say end here. Okay, I'll say end here. Let's see what happens. Select product ID, product name, stock from products. Done. Let me try to execute this procedure. I'll say F8. Yes, procedure got created. Now I'll say call procedure 7. Okay, call procedure 7. Let me say, let me execute this. Done. So I got the data. Okay, I got the data. It is able to populate the data. Now I'll do a slight change. What I'll do is, yeah, now what is that I have done here? Directly I am retrieving the data, I am populating it in the runtime. I want to put it in what? I want to put it in internal table kind of thing. Okay, so let me create the procedure here. I'll say create procedure. Let me say procedure 8. Okay, begin. Okay, begin. I'll say something my internal table equal to my itab equal to select product ID, product name, so and so. Done. Okay, now I'll say select star from what is this? My itab. Here also better I'll give like this. Select star from what is the internal table of my itab. Done. Okay, so you need not declare that particular itab since it is in your local. I need not declare that. Okay, so what I'll do here, let me execute this. F8. Oh, I got an error. Why? Incorrect syntax error. Okay, create procedure 8 as begin. My tab select so and so. It is giving me the error here. Okay, is it not supporting here? Let me remove this. Let me try to execute. I'll say F8. I'm re-executing that. I removed that column there. Yes, now I think column is not supported for that. Okay, fine. So I'm able to data. Sorry, I'm able to create the procedure. Now let column is not what supported here. Let me try to call this. Call procedure 8. I'll say F8. It's still executing. I got the data. Now I want to debug this. So what is the change here? Earlier I'm directly populating. Now I am assigning to a internal table variable. From an internal variable I am retrieving it. Okay. So now I want to debug this. So let me quickly debug this. Yeah, how do you debug? Let me refresh first. Procedure 8 I want to debug. So double click on this procedure. I want to start the debugging from here. Okay, I'll just put the breakpoint. Done. I'll put the breakpoint here also. Done. Okay. Then open the debugging perspective. Then it has opened. Let me create the configuration. Debug configuration. I'll give the store procedure. Create new configuration. Let me give the configuration name as 7am config 4. Okay, it is available under our schema. Browse for your schema from your procedure section. Procedure 8 done. Say okay. Done. Input parameters. I don't have any input parameters. Done. Okay, apply and say what? Debug. Done. What happened? This one only, no? Yeah, this one. Okay. Yeah, this is your procedure 8. Now this is your my I tab. Okay, this is my I tab which I have not specified as a parameter. Okay, done. Now I'll okay, as of now let me try to give a variable name here. I'll say my I tab. Let me say F8. Done. You can see here my I tab. So you can see here I got how many rows? 5 rows. I pressed F8 here. My tab value got populated, has got 5 rows itself. Okay. Now I want to check the data. Let me try to double click. Let's see what happens if I double click. It is just showing 5 rows. Now I'll right click on this and I'll say open data preview. Understood? I want to see the content of this. Right click on this and say open data preview. Yes, somewhere you can see at the bottom, I am able to see the data. I need to increase the size here. You can see below, I got this 5 records. 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. Right? So I'll say F8. Done. Data would be populated. F8.
Can we change these values at runtime, Sridhar? The internal
No,
table
no.
values?
No, that's what. Runtime is the debugging you are saying, na?
Yeah. Once it is populated, can we modify
No.
our data and update
No, that is not possible here. It is possible in our ABAP. Here I cannot edit the variable values in the debugging mode.
Okay.
Even the normal variables or the intervals I cannot edit.
Okay.
So Pularav, I think you asked this only now. How do you check the data? So just have to right click on that internal table and say open data preview.
Yes. And when you have the multiple hierarchies, means calling from one procedure to other procedure to other procedure. Suppose if you setting the debugging point in procedure 8 and you're calling from procedure 7, it's going to trigger the procedure 8, right?
In the target procedure also you have to set the breakpoint. Understood?
Yes, I want to set the breakpoint in the target procedure where I want to debug, and I call from some other procedure.
Yes, it will stop. It will show you.
Okay, thank you.
And anyhow, this will continue for next 1 or 2 days. This procedures, okay. We'll see the complex procedures. Just we are trying to understand environment. There, what I'll do, we have the option to, just like we call a subroutine from another subroutine, we can call a procedure from what another procedure. We can consume that procedure in our ABAP report. So we'll see all those scenarios.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Gautam.
So can we have the in parameter as an optional? Like in function model, we have an optional parameter.
No. Here always they are mandatory. No. Always they are mandatory.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sridhar, how do you just print a single value from the internal table? How do you display a single field, like like my tab hyphen, or like how you going to do that?
Yeah, same thing. That internal table hyphen the field name.
Okay.
Anyhow, in the next class, I think somehow you asked somewhere if condition, how do you use the if condition case, all those. Okay, so I'll go for complex procedures where we'll do the decision making by using that conditional statements, looping statements, all those things will incorporate. So at that time, I may be retrieving multiple records, multiple fields, but I want to display only few fields. So in that anyway, we'll cover that.
So you'll be sharing this recording Sridhar, today?
Yeah,
Yesterday?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
I'll,
missed yesterday. I
yeah,
missed
yeah,
yesterday because of
yeah,
client.
I'll share all the recordings, but request from for everyone is please keep it confidential. Okay, understood? Now, please don't circulate it. I'm requesting everyone. Okay, so every third day I'll share the recordings. Okay, so Wednesdays, every Wednesdays, and probably every Fridays I'll share the recordings because
Yeah, I'm just
these
asking because I missed the class yesterday because of client
no,
call. Yeah.
no issue, no issue. I'll share throughout the course, but please keep it confidential. Okay.
We are not getting downloading option, sir.
Sorry, your voice is breaking. Can you repeat, please? Ramkrishna?
We are not getting the downloading option.
No, download option is not there, only preview option. Only preview.
Available in the, or after some time it will be.
Yeah, any other doubts?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Gautam, tell me. Tell me.
So can we transfer the data of one internal table to other internal table? Like now in
Everything, whatever you can do in ABAP, everything we can do. Everything. Okay. So going forward, that's what I said. See all the scenarios. How do you modify the data in the internal table? Once I got the data in internal table, how do you manipulate it? How do you process it? Everything we'll see. And how do you pass it? How do you copy the data to another internal table? All cases we'll see. Okay, so those are not started practicing. Please start practicing. Monday onwards, we'll see the complex things. And Monday onwards, what we'll do is we'll create table types here. We have a option here, table type. Just like in ABAP SC11, we'll create the table type. Okay, we can create the table type and I can use it across the procedures. Now this is local. Local variables I need not declare. But if the requirement is same structure I require across the procedures, I need to create it globally. So how do you create the table type? How do we use it in other different areas? We'll see all those things. Okay. So I'll stop it now. Next class will be again on Monday. We'll continue with the procedures. In that only I'll cover all the SQL functions, everything. We have different types of SQL function, date functions, number functions, conversion functions, string functions. I'll be using all those things in the next 2-3 days, okay, as part of the procedures. And I'll also show one more example on